I popped my friend's pimples. I stopped when I found a parasite living in her skin. Puberty kicked both our butts. Gemma got perfect bazongas plus a face full of acne. I was flat as a board and model tall, but my scalp was a dandruff-y mess, constantly oily and flaking. Gemma would always have problems with acne, so it became a ritual where I would pop her pimples for her. Looking back, I don't know what I was thinking. It's gross, I already know that, but I didn't even hesitate. I spun her around and pinned the thing between my thumbs, putting pressure on either side of the ripe little mound until a tiny tube of pus spewed out the top and a pinprick of blood after that. I kept pressing. I wanted to see what else would come out. I didn't stop until Gemma swatted my hands away. Somehow, it became our little ritual. I don't remember who initiated it next. It was monthly, then weekly, then daily. I knew her face better than my own. She'd lay her head in my lap after swim meets, eyes closed, breath soft and peaceful. I'd brush my thumb over her chin, cheeks, and forehead until I found a rough spot, then pick, peel, or pop it. Sometimes I could pull off an impressive sheet of dry skin, bigger than a quarter, revealing the pretty baby pink layer underneath. Perfect and taut, just beneath the surface. Other times, she'd have me use toothpicks and tweezers to empty her clogged pores or dig out blackheads. I stole my mom's cosmetic magnifying glass once or twice to get a good look at the honeycomb-like holes neatly arranged on her nose and the minuscule maggoty growths that stuck out from them. It was our special thing, just her and me, a secret only the pads of my thumbs and the hills and valleys of her face could know about. Eventually, the inevitable happened. Gemma and I were doing the usual. She was lying in bed, me straddling her torso, hunched over and craning my neck to survey her face. Prom was coming up, and she wanted to be doll smooth before then. I dug my nails into her face, popping a stubborn pimple and peeling up the lifted edge from the indent I'd created. It was harder to pull back than usual, stubbornly stuck on. I jolted up when something warm wriggled beneath my thumb. The startle made me yank way too hard, making Gemma buckle and yowl beneath me. I covered her mouth fast, but it was too late. Her mom busted in, horrified, and dragged me out for mutilating her baby girl. Whatever. We didn't talk much after that. Gemma was evasive in class. There was a raw, pinkish strike across the right side of her face from where I dug too deep. We orbited each other, but the shared shame ran too deep to do much else. Gemma's mom blocked my number from her phone, and when prom came, we got ready alone. She never looked at me on the dance floor. Our friendship fizzled out along with our filthy little secret, and that was the end of that. Years passed. We went to colleges on opposite ends of the province. We were still friends on Facebook, but nothing more. She got a boring boyfriend and an impressive degree. I dropped out and got a cat. A week ago, though, she messaged me. Hey, it's been a while. Wanna hang? Gemma was waiting for me when I arrived. She'd gotten much better at makeup since I'd seen her last. Although I could still make out faint bumps indicative of adult acne, her foundation was creamy and perfectly matched her natural complexion. Her liner and brows were thick and dark, bold enough to distract the average person from the uneven texture beneath it all. Me, though? I saw through all of it. We could never hide from each other, her and I. But I noticed something I hadn't before. Gemma's nails, usually manicured and pristine, were nubby and uneven. Her cuticles were dry and flaking, with a couple of brown-red scab spots around the perimeter. My eyes narrowed. Gemma, I said, firmer now. Deathly serious, or trying to be. Honestly, what's going on? Why are you here, in this city? I want you to do it again. Her eyes were piercing, huge, awful things. I'd never noticed how big they were until now. My tongue felt fat in my mouth. She trapped my hands between her wiry fingers, caging them together. She pinned me in place with her stare. I mean it, she continued, there's this tingling. Or an itch. I tried to scrape it out like you did. I remembered her nubby nails. I thought about larvae. I thought about pupation. I'd ripped my hands from hers and hauled my purse over my shoulder before she could finish. I was halfway to getting out of this awful conversation, this shitty bar, and feeling some fresh air on my face when her pleading got even more desperate. I'll pay you, she shouted. A lot. I have the cash. Just do it once. If I were a better person, there wouldn't be anything else to say. I would have gone home, slept hard, and blocked her contact for mentioning any of that so casually as if scraping her face open was a normal way for girls to bond. I would have buried this whole thing and curled up in the sad, safe life I made for myself, and I'd ignore messy high school friends like a normal adult. Gemma showed me the cash, though, and I learned my resolve is a lot flimsier than I wanted it to be. So I did it. Well past sundown and after several drinks on Gemma's tab, I was in her hotel room, straddling her abdomen like I had all those years ago. The lights were dim, except for the lamp, which she positioned like an ungodly spotlight on her face. She'd spent half an hour in the bathroom rubbing herself raw to remove her makeup. I had a clean canvas and free rein over all her spots and bumps. My hands were clammy. I was a mess. I could tell. My head was heavy from the wine, and my mouth tasted terrible. Gemma used to close her eyes for this, fluttered shut like a movie princess. This time, they were painfully open, bloodshot around the edges. She looked awful. But I could fix her. I wish I could say that the whole event was fumbling and awkward. That I was repulsed. I wasn't, though. Not at first. I slipped into the trance as easily as I always had, sweeping my fingers over her pretty cheeks and slim nose. I found 3 white-headed pimples on her cheek that I popped with ease, swiping the yellowy pus on her pillowcase for cleaners to deal with later. I scraped my nail over dead, dry skin, urging it to lift off, like separating an apple's waxy, red skin from the crisp fruit beneath. Bits lifted like teeny snowflakes, then I coaxed it enough to loosen off in long, papery strips. I caught her eyes again. This time, she was smiling. Bubbles of saliva foamed at her mouth's corners. I looked away. I found a swollen lump at the height of her right cheekbone, a cystic pimple, I guessed, and applied pressure. Her face was burning up. I pressed more and more until the tips of my thumbs went pale, the angry lump barely shifting. I hesitated, and Gemma scoffed, so I doubled down. Hard. The thing popped with a gross, bloody clot rolling out. Not pus at all. I was about to recoil when Gemma's bird-like hand seized me in a vice grip. Her gaze was white-hot. Don't you dare, she hissed. You're so close. I could feel my heart in my throat. I swallowed hard, feeling my mouth fill with saliva. I did the breathing exercises my therapist recommended to soothe anxiety-induced nausea, which helped until I inhaled a lungful of something putrid. She stunk like rotting plums and copper. Past the blood clot came pus. Or, that's what I thought. It was an off-white tube, only a millimeter wide but longer than expected. I pressed down, feeling Gemma's judgment searing through me, always so susceptible to her scorn. I watched in dismay as it just kept oozing out, longer and longer, coiling as it extended past her face. Morbid curiosity set in, and I touched it. It wasn't pus at all. It was hard, like a fish line. Then it moved. What? Gemma blurted. What? What is it? She pawed at her face and, with glee, or horror, I'm not sure, caught the writhing string between her fingers. She seized it and pulled. It came out like a clown's handkerchief, a foot long, then 2, then 3, comedically never-ending. I couldn't for the life of me imagine where it was all coming from until I saw the snake-like silhouette shifting under her skin. Her smile was so gaping I could see the back of her throat, including, unfortunately, the flash of white ribbon that whipped past her uvula. You did it. She cheered. I had fallen back onto my heels, scrambling to the foot end of the bed. Her face was deflating before my eyes, the youthful fullness of her cheeks emptying as that thing was pulled and pulled and pulled. Was that all she was, just skin in this? I could feel hot tears on my face, but my hands were numb. I begged her to stop. Why? Why? Why, Frankie? Is it too much? Are you upset? Is it too much? I wept. Gemma, please. You brought your car, tell me where your keys are, I'll drive you to the hospital. I'll drive. Just stop. She kept pulling. Do you think I'm ugly, Frankie? You made me like this. I shook my head. I cried. I don't know what I said after that, only that it came out between heaves, a small spot of orange bile wetting the duvet between my hands. You've always been in me, Frankie. Only you could get it out. Oh, thank God, oh my God, I missed you. This is everything I needed. I'm going to get it out. I'm going to get it out. The last thing I remember is the string pulling taut. Gemma looked delighted. It was bunched up like a cord in her hands, wiggling where it extended past her fists. There was nothing else to unfurl. With one brutal tug, it ripped the top layer of her skin, splitting her apart like a cicada shed. Fat and flexing muscle glistened beneath. I left before she could strip off the rest. Why wouldn't she stop smiling? I couldn't tell you how I got home, but I haven't left my apartment since. I've been having all my food delivered and deleted my Facebook and just about everything else. I keep a pair of latex gloves on as often as I can. The feeling of skin on skin might as well be nails on a chalkboard right now. I wish I could stop sweating. If I think about it too hard, I get too aware of all of my pores. What's in them? What isn't? Why are people covered in so many holes? God damn it. Why can't I just get clean? I've been trying to avoid mirrors, but I'm scared. I feel a bump that's taller than my cheeks. My face hurts, and I think I'm starting to break out from the stress.